The conspiracy theories are off the charts crazy.
There was a wild rumor last night that the palace was about to put out some big statement.
It was.
Here's the anatomy of this rumor. Online frenzy reached a fever pitch that the BBC had been put on alert. A royal announcement is coming.
What could it be?
Is this about Kate? Is this about Charles?
This morning, it was the #1 trending topic on Twitter.
Fact of the matter is that CBS News has not heard anything. BBC News, our partner here in the United Kingdom, has not heard anything as well.
When the British royal family makes an announcement, it's usually about a national issue. Rarely they do announce details of their private lives, except for marriages and the birth of new royals.
Joyful news from Buckingham Palace. The birth of His Royal Highness the Baby Prince. Honouring the first child born to a British reigning sovereign for over 100 years, a royal salute is fired in Hyde Park.
So, it came as a shocker to the world when they made a very big and personal announcement. The announcement had fear-reaching implications for not just the UK, but the world at large. What is this announcement? And why is it such a big deal? Join us as we reveal the biggest announcement of 2024 that the royal family just made. The announcement about the monarch's failing health.
We've received breaking news from Buckingham Palace, which has announced that the King has been diagnosed with cancer.
A big announcement about King Charles's health was made public by the royal family this year, which took many people by surprise. Buckingham Palace announced that King Charles was going to get treatment for an enlarged prostate. Even though thousands of men go through this process every year, the news felt different because it involved the king. The public was informed by the palace that the condition was harmless and not life-threatening. But because there weren't many details, people were left guessing and worried about the king's health. The palace didn't just send out another regular message about the king's health. This showed how serious the situation was, especially since it was announced that Charles would be taking time off from public tasks to focus on getting better. Considering how busy he had been since becoming king, this was especially shocking. But that's not all. Looking back at how private the royal family is about personal matters.
Prince William just gave a rare update about his wife's health. He said Catherine, the Princess of Wales, is doing well as she undergoes cancer treatment.
The choice to tell the world about this was probably not made without much thought. But everyone knew that as king, his health wasn't just his own business. It was something that the whole country would be concerned about. It's important to remember that this wasn't the first time the public had heard that someone in the royal family was sick. Kate Middleton was having surgery on her stomach right at the same time as King Charles's news. The fact that two well-known members of the royal family were getting medical care at the same time made people even more worried. It wasn't long before the media started talking about the line of succession and how it might affect the royal tasks. People were interested in what this might mean for the future of the government. As the days went by, a second shocking news came out. King Charles had been diagnosed with cancer. The palace didn't say what kind of cancer he had, but it was clear that this was found while he was getting treatment for his prostate. A lot of people around the world were moved by this news, both because of how serious the diagnosis was, and because it showed that even the most powerful people can face problems in their lives. The king's medical staff stepped in quickly, and the palace told the public that he was getting regular care. Even though the royal family didn't say much about the treatments, they did say that the king would be spending even more time away from the public to focus on his health. This was a very important time for the government. People had always seen King Charles as a leader and a source of stability, but he was now going through a personal fight.
While meeting with community members outside of the town hall, Charles is asked about his health as he continues to undergo cancer treatment and replies, quote, "I'm not too bad."
Many people thought that his choice to make this health problem public was an attempt to stop wild speculation. It helped people understand how serious things were without having to spread lies. The palace also said that Charles would keep working behind the scenes on state business and official paperwork, even though his health had taken a turn for the worse. During the weeks after the news came out, the king was not seen by many people. Instead, other members of the royal family filled in for him. In particular, Prince William felt like he had to take on more duties while his father was away. The King and Kate Middleton were both recovering, which put the royal family in an odd position. They had to balance their own health problems with the normal duties of public service. The country was waiting for more information because they didn't know what would happen next. One of the most heartwarming things about this time was how the King dealt with his illness. He stayed connected to the people of the UK, even though he wasn't at any public events. In an audio message that was sent out before Easter, Charles said that he was sorry he couldn't be at some royal events in person. His words showed a sense of duty, even when things were hard for him. That moment hit home for a lot of people who have been through similar problems and still feel the pull of their duties. The monarch's readiness to be open about his illness helped build a stronger bond with his people by showing them that, in many ways, he was just like them. It was clear that King Charles was still healing, but he had every plan to go back to public life. Charles went to a smaller Easter Sunday service with Queen Camilla. It was his first public appearance since being told he had cancer.
You didn't believe she was dead?
For a long time. I just refused to accept that she was gone. Part of, she would never do this to us, but also part of, maybe this is all part of a plan. Quite a severe head injury, but she was very much still alive on the back seat. And those people that caused the accident, instead of helping, were taking photographs of her dying on the back seat. And then those photographs made their way back to news desks in this country.
Princess Diana, the people's princess, stepped into the royal spotlight with her marriage to Prince Charles.
Ostensibly no, but given the fact that the Princess of Wales believes that Prince Charles's friendship with another woman, Camilla Parker Bowles, has cast a long shadow over that marriage, must be considered when you look at the failure of this 11-year union.
Despite her doubts about the hasty proposal, she saw it as a way to escape her troubled family. But the royal life was anything but a fairy tale. Her marriage to Charles brought to light many secrets, and she faced unkind treatment from the royal family. Distraught by infidelity and cruelty, Diana sought revenge, only to tragically die in a car crash in 1997. Now, decades later, her son is revealing secrets about Charles. Why is he breaking his silence? Princess Diana's marriage to the royal family and the controversies that trailed her life after brought her to the limelight. But she had quite an eventful life, even before then. Let's delve into when and how it all started. Diana was born on the 1st of July, 1961, to Edward John Spencer, the Viscount Althorp, and Frances Ruth Burke Roche, who later became known as the Honorable Frances Shand Kidd. She was born as Diana Frances Spencer, and later became Lady Diana Spencer in 1975.
Above all, we give thanks for the life of a woman I'm so proud to be able to call my sister. The unique, the complex, the extraordinary and irreplaceable Diana, whose beauty, both internal and external, will never be extinguished from our minds.
After her father inherited the Earl Spencer title, her connection to the royal family is evident in her place of birth. Princess Diana was born at Park House, a home that her parents rented on Queen Elizabeth II's estate in Sandringham, England.
The former home of Elizabeth's head gardener on her Sandringham estate can be rented for about $400 a night next February for a minimum of 3 nights.
The royal family frequently holidayed at the neighboring Sandringham House.
London. Queen Mary left Marlborough House for Sandringham, where the royal Christmas was to be spent as a family party.
And Diana played with Princes Andrew and Edward. With such a noble background, how did Diana's early life lead to her eventual fate and controversial life? Get ready for the most epic moment of the video. Diana was the youngest daughter of her parents, and she had 2 older sisters, Jane Fellows and Sarah McCorquodale, and a younger brother, Charles Spencer, 9th Earl Spencer. She had another brother, John, but he died in infancy a year before Diana was born.
From her mother's devastating loss of a baby boy,
she was never allowed to hold her first son.
Both of her grandmothers, Cynthia Spencer and Ruth Roche, were ladies-in-waiting to Queen Mother Elizabeth. After losing John, her parents were hoping for another boy to carry on the family line, and so they didn't choose a name for a week after her birth until they settled on Diana Frances after her mother and Lady Diana Spencer, a great-aunt who was also a prospective Princess of Wales as a potential bride for Frederick, Prince of Wales. Diana was also nicknamed Dooch within the family because of her duchess-like attitude in childhood. On August 30th, 1961, Diana was baptized at St. Mary Magdalene Church, Sandringham. Despite her birth as the third child and fourth born of the family, her parents still wanted a male to be their heir, and this really put a strain on their marriage, especially after Lady Althorp was sent to Harley Street clinics in London to determine the cause of her inability to produce a male heir. Her younger brother Charles would later describe this sole event as humiliating and a dreadful time for his parents. It was in fact probable that this was the root cause of their divorce.
Paul Workman now on the world's most famous couple, heading for the world's most famous divorce.
Diana was 7 years old when her parents divorced, and her mother went on to marry Peter Shand Kidd in 1969. Diana still lived with her mother in London immediately after her parents' separation in 1967. But after going on holiday to her father's home during the Christmas holiday that same year, her father, Lord Althorp, refused to let his daughter return to London. Shortly after, he won custody of Diana with the support of his former mother-in-law, Lady Fermoy. In 1976, Diana's father married Rain, Countess of Dartmouth. Their step-family relationship wasn't typical. Diana didn't get along with her stepmother and often called her a bully, even pushing her downstairs once. She described her childhood as very unhappy and unstable. After her father inherited the Earl Spencer title in 1975, she became Lady Diana. The family moved from Park House to Althorp, their estate in Northamptonshire. For schooling, Diana was initially homeschooled by her governess, Gertrude Allen. Later, she attended Sillafurled Private School in King's Lynn, Norfolk, beginning her formal education there. This upbringing shaped Diana's early years, marked by family tensions and transitions. Her strained relationship with her stepmother and the move to Althorp were significant events that influenced her upbringing and perspective on life. When she was 9, she moved to Riddlesworth Hall School, an all-girls boarding school near Thetford. Later on, in 1973, she joined her sisters at West Heath Girls' School in Sevenoaks, Kent, but her academics largely suffered because of her bad performance in school, which some say is probably a result of her strained childhood and her parents' divorce and remarriage, which she largely witnessed. She even failed her O-levels twice. In spite of this, Diana stood out in terms of community service, and this outstanding spirit was recognized with an award from her school, West Heath. What she lacked in academics, she made up for in community engagement. She left West Heath when she was 16, and up until that point, her brother Charles says she was a very shy young lady. She also had great skills, including her excellent musical ability as a skilled pianist.
It's a well-known story told in an unexpected way, set to music on a Broadway stage.
I choose a fresh new start.
Diana the musical is framed around the Princess of Wales' relationship with Prince Charles.
She was an excellent swimmer and diver, and she also studied ballet and tap dance. It was only academics that was not her forte. Between 1979 and 1981, Diana lived at Coleherne Court in Chelsea, London. In 1978, she started a mini-career in line with her passion for children, working as a nanny for Philippa and Jeremy Whittaker in Hampshire. She attended a finishing school in Rougemont, Switzerland for one term, but left after Easter 1978. Back in London, she shared her mother's flat with 2 friends from school. In London, Diana took an advanced cooking course and worked various low-paying jobs. She was a dance instructor for youth until a skiing accident caused her to miss 3 months of work. Then, she worked as a playgroup preschool assistant, did cleaning for her sister Sarah, and acted as a hostess at parties. She also babysat for the Robertsons, an American family in London, and worked as a nursery teacher's assistant at the Young England School in Pimlico. In July 1979, her mother bought her a flat at Coleherne Court as an 18th birthday present. She lived there with 3 flatmates until February 25, 1981. It's amazing how she got involved with Prince Charles after such an eventful life. Royal marriage, sons' births, and lingering controversies. Diana and Prince Charles met in 1977 in unusual circumstances.
The love story between Prince Charles and Lady Diana is particularly steeped in royal history, around which many rumors have surfaced up to this day.
As Charles was dating her sister Sarah, none of them could have imagined their future together. Charles thought she was jolly, and after his relationship with Sarah ended in 1978, they stayed friends. Diana attended Charles's 30th birthday party in Buckingham Palace in November 1978, and in January 1979, she met Charles again at a weekend shooting party at Sandringham as a guest of Queen Elizabeth II. Later in the summer of 1980, Diana and Prince Charles met again at a house party hosted by her friend Philip de Pass in New Grove. After observing her shy nature and wise way of speaking, Charles considered her a potential girlfriend, despite their 13-year age gap. While sitting on a bale of hay at a post-polo barbecue, Diana sympathized with Charles over the loss of his great-uncle, Lord Mountbatten. Her comforting words struck a nerve, and he decided to pursue a relationship with her.
It's always easy to be smart in hindsight, but when you look at this couple's soap opera of body language throughout their marriage and before their marriage.
Did her words make him fall in love? Don't miss the next scene where things get even more interesting. After this, Prince was keen to spend more time with Diana, and he invited her to Balmoral to join him and a group of friends there for a summer holiday. This delighted Diana in no small measure, as she was beginning to adore Charles. After meeting about 13 times, Prince Charles proposed to Diana. He was said to be largely influenced by his father, Prince Philip, who TD Bim in a memo to stop playing the field and get married. His father had said, "You either marry this girl or let her go." Being confused as ever, he took this to mean that his father wanted her to marry Diana, and he proposed to her on February 3, 1981, after a few months of dating at Windsor Castle. Diana was so surprised that she first thought it a joke, but it was real. Prince Charles was damn serious. The formal engagement press call was on February 24, 1981, when after Beijing asked by reporters if they are in love, Diana had replied with certainty while Charles had said, "Whatever in love means." In March 1981, Charles flew to Australia and New Zealand for 5 weeks, leaving his newly betrothed behind. She's spotted crying at Heathrow Airport upon his departure, not because she is sad, but because before he left, he had taken a phone call with Camilla Parker Bowles, his ex. Notwithstanding all these, they got married on July 39, 1981 at St. Paul's Cathedral, with 2,650 guests, and a television audience of around 750 million people watching. Charles was wary of going through with the marriage, but he didn't want to let the royal family down. It would look as though Prince Charles was more eager to find a qualified bride than to actually find a love match. Although he was struck by some of her qualities, it wasn't necessarily love, considering that he was still very much in sync with his ex-girlfriend Camilla, a major problem that would later cause much problems in the marriage. Some believe that Prince Charles married Diana because he needed someone who would fit into the royals' family requirement of a prince, and also to produce his own heirs to the royal throne. Princess Diana's problems began right on her wedding day, because the royal family is a subject of intense media attention. It comes with the status, and anyone who is getting into the royal family must be ready to face the odds. Media attention had always been on Prince Charles ever since he started dating. Every of his love interests have been a subject of scrutiny by the press on whether or not they were fit for the royal throne. Diana was not an exception, when on their wedding day, she broke tradition by omitting the word obey from her vows, and it generated a lot of attention and criticism from the media all at once, launching her first hand into one of the many trials of the royal family. After the couple's fairy tale wedding, Diana felt overwhelmed by her royal duties and the intense media coverage of nearly every aspect of her life. The many duties and the lack of affection from the prince meant that they spent little time together, and the princess was not having it easy. Due to this, in January 1982, 12 weeks into her pregnancy with William, Diana deliberately threw herself down the stairs at the Sandringham House royal residence in Norfolk because she had eating disorder, bulimia, and was feeling so despondent and inadequate in her marriage to Charles. But the baby was unharmed. There was a ray of hope after the birth of their first son, William, on June 21, 1982, at St. Mary's Hospital in London, and Prince Charles, having attended the broth, described the experience as astonishing. The birth of their first son deepened the relationship between Diana and the prince a little. Diana experienced postpartum depression after her pregnancy with William, and found the intense media attention surrounding her pregnancy difficult to bear. In 1983, when William was just 9 months old, Diana couldn't bear to leave him behind for a 6-week tour of Australia and New Zealand. She broke royal tradition by taking him along, sparking a mixed reaction from the press, from harsh criticism to applause from parts of the public. Then, on September 15, 1984, Princess Diana gave birth to Prince Harry, with Charles by her side. Interestingly, 6 weeks before Harry's birth, Charles had thought Diana was expecting a girl. When Harry, a boy, arrived instead, Diana kept it a surprise from Charles, perhaps enjoying the closeness it brought them. But Charles's disappointment over Harry's gender and his hair color strained their marriage further. Diana felt resentful, beginning a journey of secrecy and revenge. This bitterness lingered, and years later Prince William began leaking royal secrets, drawing widespread media attention. It begs the question, why did Charles break the royal rule of secrecy, and why did both sons turn away from their father? Stay tuned, the most exciting part is just around the corner. Prince William's unveiled King Charles's secrets. In the recent royal biography Endgame, written by the royal analyst Omid Scobie, secrets and explosive claims revealed in the book about King Charles, marriage to Diana, and even under his rule were attributed to have been leaked by Prince William's. Interestingly, some claim that it is due to his overambition to become king one day that he broke the sacred code of the royal family, keeping the mouth sealed and keeping secrets. The secrets released by him corroborated the many suspicions of there being a foul play surrounding the death of Princess Diana, while also adding fresh perspectives to the long-forgotten life of Princess Diana. The news was that he leaked private information about both Harry, his brother, and King Charles. Princess Diana's death had been subject to one conspiracy theory or the other, and the most apparent one was that the driver was intoxicated. But more than this, the princess's suspicion of the royal family always plotting against her during her lifetime did not help matters. During her frustrating times with the prince, she believed at some point that Charles wanted her out of the way in order to marry his true love, Camilla. So, many implied that her death might not be a natural accident after all. One major open secret of Prince Charles was his affair with Camilla Parker Bowlers, both before and after the marriage with Princess Diana. On finding out, Camilla was a bone in Camilla's throat, coupled with the loneliness, extreme media attention, and the mental health issues that Diana faced after the marriage. On the Monday before her wedding, she had discovered a beautiful bracelet her future husband intended to give to Camilla. Diana considered calling off the wedding after discovering the bracelet, which confirmed her worst suspicions about Charles's relationship with Camilla. But after lunch with her older sisters, she was persuaded otherwise, telling her that it was too late to chicken out. Tremendously unhappy in their marriage by 1986, both Charles and Diana had extramarital affairs. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, Charles maintained constant communication with Camilla, who was also unhappily married to a promiscuous husband. Their affair reignited despite her troubled marriage, a fact Prince Charles admitted to his biographer Jonathan Dimbleby in 1994.
She was the villain. She was the third person in the marriage.
The villain Prince Harry is referring to is Camilla, King Charles's wife and now Queen Consort.
Meanwhile, rumors swirled that Diana had an affair with Army Captain James Hewitt, possibly in response to her own marital unhappiness. Between 1987 and 1992, their troubled marriage garnered intense media scrutiny. Diana's absence from Charles's family summer trip in 1987 sparked headlines about a royal rift. Public appearances often revealed their distant and unhappy demeanor, further fueling speculation about their relationship. The media closely followed their every move, analyzing their interactions and adding to the public's fascination with their marital struggles.
King Charles and Queen Camilla have arrived in Samoa on the second leg of their royal tour, the biggest overseas trip for King Charles since his cancer diagnosis.
The service was meant to be low-key, so that the king wouldn't have to deal with too many people, but it was still a big deal because it meant that the king was slowly returning to his job, even though he was still having health problems. With all of these promises and slow returns to public life, It showed his resilience and sense of responsibility, like they were strong and responsible. Even though the king's health may have been failing, he never wavered in his dedication to his tasks. At every step, Buckingham Palace kept the people of the UK updated. This not only calmed the country, but also stopped false rumors from spreading. Although we mentioned it, let's look at another big announcement the royal family made in 2024 in detail. The announcement about the Princess of Wales. Early in 2024, the world was shocked when they heard something unexpected about Catherine, Princess of Wales. People didn't expect it, and the story quickly spread around the world. Kensington Palace announced in a short but serious statement that the princess had been diagnosed with cancer after an earlier this year surgery that was supposed to be done on her abdomen. Before that, no one knew what was wrong with her because the palace had kept everything very quiet to protect her privacy in the beginning. It wasn't an easy choice for her to tell everyone about her illness.
We begin with breaking news. Buckingham Palace has just released a new photo and update about Catherine, the Princess of Wales.
Yeah, it's been nearly 3 months since the princess revealed that she had been diagnosed with cancer, and even longer since she's been seen in public.
The royal family is known for being discreet, so they don't talk about personal issues unless they have to. There was more and more talk about the princess not being at public events, so they knew it was time to clear the air. It was also important to let people know that Catherine was getting care, and that even though the news was bad, there was still hope. There were a lot of worries that the news would raise, but it also gave people a better idea of what the Princess of Wales and her family were up to behind closed palace doors. Even though the palace's message was short, it didn't answer all of our questions. That information is still secret to this day because they didn't say what kind of cancer it was. Instead, they chose to talk about how Catherine was getting care and how she would need time off. This was a big change from the royal routine. Catherine is known for always being in public and having a strong presence with Prince William. People were worried about her while she wasn't there, and the palace made it clear that they would only give information when important steps in her treatment were taken. What made the reveal emotional was seeing how things worked on a personal level. The news of Catherine's diagnosis made the royal family seem more human in a way that many people hadn't seen before. The royal family usually keeps personal issues out of the public eye. The princess herself wrote some thoughts about the experience. She thanked the hospital staff for their care.
It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who've taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful.
And said she understood how hard the illness had been on her family. She said it was especially hard to explain what was going on to their kids, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. This is something that many parents around the world can relate to. As the news spread, people all over the world showed their support. People from all over the world sent messages of support, saying how sorry they were for the princess and how strong she was during this trying time. Even though not many details were given, everyone was hoping for her healing because they felt united. For many, Catherine was more than just a royal figure. She was a mother, a wife, and someone who used her fame to fight for good causes. For those who supported her, this news felt very personal. The news also showed how life can be unpredictable, even for famous people like the royal family. Catherine's diagnosis was found after what was meant to be a routine surgery. This shows how unpredictable these kinds of events can be. In her own words, she said that the news had come as a surprise and that no one in her situation could have seen it coming. It was a reminder that health problems can happen to anyone, no matter what their standing is, and that even royal people have to deal with real problems behind the scenes. The announcement was mostly about Catherine's diagnosis and the need for privacy, but it also gave a hint of the longer trip that was to come. It was hard for them to find the right mix between protecting the princess's privacy and keeping the public up to date, but it was clear that they wanted to be as open as possible given the situation. People talked about the royal family in a very different way in the weeks after the news came out.
Coming on the air because just moments ago, amid global concern and speculation, Princess Catherine has now revealed her personal health battle and why she kept it secret.
They're usually in the news for events, charity work, or even scandals, but this time it was about something much more personal and important. People all over the world, not just in the UK, talked a lot about Catherine's health. It made people think about how even the most powerful people can have problems just like regular families. People will remember the news that Catherine had cancer in 2024, both for how sad it was and how it brought people together. It was a strong reminder of how fragile life is and how important it is to help people we care about when they are going through hard times. The next chapter discusses the pressure the monarchy is facing due to the king's health issues. Pressure on the monarchy. As a result of the recent news that King Charles III has cancer.
Coming on the air with breaking news in the United Kingdom, where King Charles III has been diagnosed with cancer.
The British throne is under more pressure than ever before. The news that the king is going to get treatment has caused a lot of worry, both for his health and for the future of the kingdom. Charles has spent his whole life getting ready for this job. Now that his health and the security of the monarchy are in doubt, he is the focus of public attention. When Charles became king after Queen Elizabeth II died, he took over a job that his mother had held for 70 years. The monarchy went through a lot of rough times during her rule, and the Queen's strength became a symbol of how stable and long-lasting the institution was. What about Charles? He took on this job when he was 74 years old, when most of his peers were already retired. There was a lot of pressure on his rule to show that the monarchy was still important in modern Britain, which is changing quickly. Now his health problem makes things even more stressful. When the king is in his mid-70s and is told he has cancer, it puts a lot of stress on the whole royal family. It's no secret that Charles has a lot of royal duties to do, like talking with politicians and going to national events. Although he will still be doing his important jobs, he is not supposed to be in public as much. Because of this, the rest of the royal family has to work harder to make up for it. Kate, Princess of Wales, is one of the important people who generally steps up in times like these, but she just had surgery on her stomach and won't be able to do so much for a while. The royal family is having a hard time staying in the public eye now that two of their most famous members are not there. People in Britain, and the many groups that depend on royal support, may start to wonder who will take on the ceremonial tasks that have always been a part of the monarchy's job. In addition, this issue has brought up old debates about the monarchy's future. King Charles has made it clear that he wants to keep doing his job, but it's not clear how long he will be able to do so. It is said that his mother promised to serve until she died, and Charles seems determined to do the same. But many people wonder if it's time to start getting ready for a change of power, especially since everyone knows that the king's health is getting worse. Aside from worrying about the king's health, the royal family is also dealing with problems within itself. Since Prince Harry and Meghan Markle became non-working royals, Charles has been annoyed by how far away Prince Harry is from the family. Harry flew back to the UK after hearing that the king was sick. It was his first major trip there since his father was crowned king. The tension between Harry and the rest of the family still casts a shadow over the throne, even though now might seem like a good time to make peace. For now, people are still thinking about Harry's book, Spare, and the Netflix show.
Well, first there was the Netflix series, 2 parts, and now Prince Harry has released his autobiography that hit shelves today. It was met with intense attention, both negative and positive.
They want to know if the family's personal problems can get better now that the king has been diagnosed. There is a lot of talk about whether this could be a chance for the royal family to work together to solve a problem, or whether these problems will get worse as more people look closely at the throne. Not only are there issues within the family, but there is also the larger question of what role the royalty plays in modern Britain. The United Kingdom is not at all like the country that Charles's mother received in 1952. Britain is a multicultural and diverse country where people's views on institutions like the monarchy are changing all the time. Recently, especially during Charles's coronation, Republican views have grown. People want a chosen head of state instead of a monarch who is born and reigns. Charles has always found it hard to balance the customs of the crown with the needs of a modern country. And now that his health is in the spotlight, both supporters and critics are wondering if the monarchy can keep being a force that brings people together. Some people see the monarchy as a sign of stability, while others see it as an old-fashioned organization that doesn't understand what people today care about. To make things even more difficult, Charles is also under fire from other countries. During his rule, calls for accountability about Britain's colonial past have grown. More and more people are calling for justice and talking about the monarchy's part in the transatlantic slave trade. Charles has tried to make up for these wrongs in the past. Most recently, he did this during a state visit to Kenya, where he acknowledged the horrible things the British did during Kenya's fight for freedom. The Crown's words are important, but they might not be enough for people who want more than just words. During this rough time, Charles is not only taking care of his own health, but also thinking about the future of the kingdom. A lot is riding on him, and many people are wondering how long he can keep doing this job now that his diagnosis is known. His illness adds to the many problems the government already has, such as family fights and calls for change from other countries. There's no doubt that the royal family will have to make some tough choices in the coming months. Will Charles still have to carry the weight of the crown while he is sick, or will there be talks of a change? If that's the case, is Prince William ready to take charge and guide the royal family through these rough times? Speaking of rough times for the royal family, the final chapter examines what people think about the monarchy. And spoiler alert, it's not all good. Public opinion about the monarchy. People have a lot of different thoughts and feelings about the royal family. Thoughts on the monarchy have changed a lot over the years, with some people becoming more critical of the organization. A new poll shows that many Britons have less good feelings about the royal family than they did 10 years ago. That's right. More than a third say their views have gotten worse, which is bad news for King Charles and the future of the kingdom. The difference between generations is a big reason for these changes in views. Older people, especially those over 55, tend to support the monarchy more. They grew up during the rule of Queen Elizabeth and saw how hard she worked at her job. They see the royal family as a sign of security and tradition. But younger people, especially those under 35, don't care as much about the royalty.